We're live. We're up. I think. Yep, we're good.
Wait,
How are you doing this fine Saturday? It's Saturday there, right?
no, it's Monday at 5 p.m. coming to you live from New York. No, it's good. It's all fine. How about you? How's your day going?
Good. I'm tired. I'm tired, but I'm good. I'm good. The past few weeks have been a little rocky. Not bad. Just I've had a lot going on.
Yeah. You were saying before about working nights. Now that's all over.
Yes, hopefully, the show that I was working on, which I guess if anyone is interested in seeing what I've been doing for the past few weeks, you can go to the discoverychannel.com and look up Cal Fire. There are currently a few clips and short episodes up on there, but we are working on an entire show that will be going up on the Discovery Channel itself. But we've been following around the Cal Fire crews as they've been fighting the wildfires that have been plaguing us out here in California. Uh,
Oh
so
yeah.
um, it's some really interesting stuff. It's cool to watch, but at the same time, kind of living through it
Mm.
it's kind of weird. It's a very bizarre place to be in, working on a show that's about the things, but then also kind of being in the middle of it.
It must have been a bit hot out there as well. And it
Um,
sounds like. Oh, go on.
Yeah, where I was, luckily, what my part in the show is basically just dealing with all the footage as it comes in. So I just sat in a hotel for the most part throughout the day. So I myself was not out there in the midst of the fires. But a couple of the places that we went to, I could definitely just smell like the campfire in the air just around where we were.
Yeah. Oh, there must. It's like I'd imagine, but like barbecue smell, but then more charcoaly, and you'd be like,
Yeah,
that type of song.
yeah, it's a really weird feeling because I haven't been camping in a long time, but
Mm,
I used to love going camping, having a big fire and doing all that kind of stuff. So that smell kind of takes me back to that, but at the same time knowing that it's just like acres of land that's on fire and people's houses are burning down, it's just
mm,
it's a weird it's a weird place to be.
yeah.
Uh, but anyway, we are not here to talk about the forest fires. We are here to talk about a different kind of burn with Star Trek
Oh,
Discovery Season 3.
yeah, exactly. I watched this yesterday because we get it on a Friday. We don't get it on a Thursday.
Okay.
So, um, it wasn't bad actually. I've got to admit, it felt slightly different to me, compared to like previous episodes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly around, it actually felt like a proper Star Trek episode. And then, like, stuff that we've seen from like Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Next Gen. So to me, it was something slightly a bit different, and I kind of liked it.
Yeah. Am I frozen on your end? I look like I'm just
Uh,
like I, I'm
re-
looking at the screen here. I just look at like I have this very intense look, just like looking right in front
yeah,
of the camera there.
I
I
mean,
will see if I can fix that. Uh, but yeah,
it's
this episode it's very disturbing just looking at myself there.
ah, episode three.
This episode was I think because this was the everyone being reunited, it had to have a different feel because the first episode of the season was everyone, well, not everyone, but it was we were seeing everything from Burnham's perspective as she landed in the future, and then the second episode was the rest of the Discovery crew, and so this episode was like their first joint mission, I guess, since coming in.
Yeah, I
Um,
generally
sorry, go ahead.
sorry, go on. I was
Uh,
gonna say I generally thought that they wouldn't meet up for at least another couple of episodes. It felt very kind of like maybe you'd get a bit more background to this new like kind of universe, but then it was just like at the end of episode two, it's like, oh, they're gonna meet up. Like that's cool that they've now contacted, and it hasn't been like a long period of time where they've like been apart in a way. And I thought that was kind of like a cool thing at the same time.
Yeah. So apparently my camera is really hot, and that might be why I'm running into some problems here. Uh,
Uh,
so I'm gonna leave that sitting where it's at for a moment. Uh, but yeah, I I enjoyed their reunion. Um, it was because we kind of got a glimpse of that at the beginning of last week's episode. Right, sorry, not at the beginning, at the end of last week's episode where Burnham rescued them. Um, but seeing them all together again, it was it gave me the feels.
hmm. So I never got the feels type thing. I think I was in a way more kind of relieved than anything, because it felt like, oh, there you are, you're back now. I can see. Oh, it's Skype.
Or that, yeah, it's gotta be
Yeah.
Skype.
Yeah. So yeah, like I like the fact, but I think what I kind of really wanted was when like Michael like saves Discovery, that it would be someone else. And I think maybe like she could have had a bit of a kind of like a play with them, like, oh, hey, the view screen is, I'm an alien, so, and then be like, ah, psych, it's me, and everyone be like, oh, Michael, and he'd be like, sorry guys, and then they'd all hug it out in this episode.
Yeah. I mean, I could have seen them doing one like that was maybe a split episode of them each kind of being in their own like
Mm,
trying to meet up. Like they had made contact, but now they're trying to figure out how to get to where each
mm.
other are.
Yeah, I think that would be kind of cool. Like you got the very quick explanation of like, oh, I waited, and then like my sensors went off, my communicator, and then you popped in. Um, like I like that kind of time like skip that they showed you. So you saw like obviously as her hair gets longer, and then her kind of relationship with Book. And I reckon that, I mean, I don't know, is Book out the series now, or is he gonna like come back later on?
Uh, that's a good question. Donnie's saying that we're getting an echo. Like Skype must just be being a piece of shit today, like all over the place. Let me see if I can figure that out. I think. Oh, I see what's happening. And
Okay,
okay,
I can hear.
hopefully that takes care of
Yeah, I
that.
can hear
All right, great. Uh, sorry
you.
about this. As we can see in Star Trek Discovery, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, as far as I know, he is a series regular. So I'm assuming in next week's episode we're going to find a reason for him to come back
Mm.
and actually stick it out with them. Um, so okay, how do you want to break down this episode? Do we want to go by characters or by storyline? Just kind of through the
Um,
episode.
pr-
Like what stood out to you? Like what were some big moments here that caught you and you were like, oh, this is pretty cool.
um, Before we jump into that, I don't know if you're on again. Um, yeah, you're frozen.
Yeah,
Like,
of course it
let's
did.
talk about this really in depth. Tell me everything about the episode. um, so I'm guessing it's still overheating.
Yeah. See, I'll see if
Yeah,
I can fix that. But here, give me a. Why don't you give me a brief synopsis of what we're looking at in this episode, and I'll see what I can
yeah.
figure out for you.
The whole episode is, it's basically you see how uh Michael picks up, like finds Discovery. They meet up. They talk about getting back to Earth. They use the kind of spore drive. Then they meet. They get to Earth. It's got this like really cool shield around it, and it's kind of like cut off from the rest of the universe, of the galaxy. Then you're kind of introduced to some raiders, um, and then there's a big moment where they start talking about. They find out that like the raiders from Titan, and then you have like this huge, massive, big kind of, how do I say it? Like this big, massive reveal that I was kind of scratching my head a bit about, which was the Trill, and how everyone got to go to Earth. There was a giant tree. Then they got rid of Starfleet Academy. And yeah, and then the episode ends, and we come into a whole new area where we're going to see probably some more of the universe, which I'm guessing we're going to see like some Titan, then we're going to see some outside the galaxy, possibly maybe some Klingons at some point, just to see how it kind of like all together works.
So what did you think of their so trying to think of the best way to ask this. Their whole reason for going to Earth was because they got Burnham had gotten this communication from an ambassador from Starfleet,
Mm.
like that had been sent out like 12 years prior. They get there and they find out that this ambassador had died on the ship when he was leaving Earth, but they didn't know. Or no, it wasn't that he died. It was that the ship had left and they didn't know where it was going.
Yeah, no, they say that he died in battle, and then all of a sudden that you find out that that he's a Trill, and then that's when you find out that the girl who was able to kind of like mess up Discovery really quickly, that she was in fact the admiral, and obviously she's human, so that's what threw me. But yeah, they do go back. Yeah, they do go back to Earth because of this like communication. Now, I didn't hear that at the very part. So I generally thought that when they were talking to the defense part, they were like, "Oh, so what are you doing here?" And they were like, communication from a Starfleet officer, Admiral blah," like someone that they kind of thought about. So I kind of missed that little part, and I thought it was kind of like a ruse that they were going to go with.
Right.
But yeah, then obviously at the very end of the episode, that's when they discover about it, and then you kind of find like it kind of drops that big bombshell that you kind of want to know more what's happening in the next episode of why like the communications like kind of like sent out. Like obviously they need help, so it's kind of interesting to see how you have this mix of human and Trill, which I'm sure they say in like Deep Space Nine that that could never happen. So
Well, but didn't that happen in Next Generation? There was an episode where Riker had been temporarily implanted with a Trill symbiote. Uh, I don't remember why it was. I think the Trill host had been injured, and they had to transfer it into him so that it wouldn't
yeah,
die.
I think I kind of vaguely remember that episode. Um, yeah,
But I don't remember what like the ramifications of that happening was.
well, if it's kind of Star Trek, it'd be either the Trill and human host couldn't kind of like live together for long, so they kind of had to get rid of the like they have to find another Trill for it to kind of the symbiote to kind of go into.
Right.
Or Riker just forgets everything and becomes. Well, maybe that would be another thing that they did in it was like if he still was combined, then they would just completely mess up and be like, well, Riker's now gone and all the memories of the Trill are kind of all mixed together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It'll be interesting because, like, I know they said that with Adira and because she was human, it's hard for her to access the memories from the trip.
Mm.
So I think we're going to see throughout the course of the series, obviously, her trying to figure out what
You're very close to the camera there.
what the ambassador was actually trying to do and trying to get those memories.
I reckon it will fall down to the whole element of there is some vital information that we had, and therefore it's like for I don't know, something about the burn, or hey, there is something over here that we need, but we can't get there because it's hidden somewhere, and only the ambassador knows, and that's probably the way that they're going to go down.
Right. I have no idea what's going on now. Now this camera is going in and out. Uh, so that's kind of weird. Today's it's been today's just turning out to be one of those days.
Mm.
Uh,
Mm.
The Discovery gets Earth. They decide to not show up right inside of Earth's sensor range because they didn't want to just suddenly appear and freak them out, which apparently they did anyway. But then when they actually make contact with Earth, you find out that Earth has turned into like they've gotten kind of xenophobic, I guess. They're now being like isolationists. They don't really want to make contact with anyone else. They're just like, no, we're here, we're doing our own thing, and the Federation isn't here anymore.
Yeah, I found that a little bit weird because any time that you've seen the Federation in any iteration of Star Trek, they've always been wanting to help. So regardless of what happens, even if they're kind of slapped and hurting, that they would rather give up something like a portion of their technology or their resources. Very similar how you see like in Voyager how at the very beginning you see how they help the Kess's race, and then later on they go like, oh hey, we've not got much, but we'll share it with you. So maybe like the burn was something completely different. So it's kind of like a cover-up story of like we did this, so we're now going to be kept away. So we're going to like kind of seal ourselves up because we've got the last amount of like dilithium around there.
Right. I thought I had me.
Mm.
Gone again. I don't. I don't know. I feel like I should just like put a picture of myself and
Yeah.
just leave it at that. Yeah. It was. I don't know. It was interesting because like I kind of knew where the episode was going to go as soon as the Raiders kind of showed up and the Starfleet the captain from the now the Union or whatever it was called on Earth
Mm.
was like no, like just go away, just leave us alone, we'll deal with this, we don't want to start a war, this just no, just leave, just
Mm.
just go away. um and Doug Jones, Saru, was just like, you don't have any jurisdiction here. This is my ship. You're not Starfleet, so bugger off.
Yeah.
We're gonna do this my way.
Yeah, I kind of like that. But one thing that made me laugh was when he was like, "Oh, shields up," and they were coming in anyway, and they're like, "No, no," and they just did it, and I was just like, so from all the realms of Star Trek, any episode when they go shields up, we can't get teleport in, and then suddenly like technology has advanced so far that you can just teleport in even when shields are up. I kind of found that a bit kind of like pointless in a way because the Raiders, if they had teleporting technology, they could have just beamed the dilithium out straight away. But I think seeing the reaction of like the Discovery crew, I think that kind of made me laugh a tiny bit because I was like, it was like a surprise, like, oh, boof, oh God, how did you get in here? So I found that a tiny bit funny.
Yeah. Well, I think there's probably a couple of different ways that you can not justify it, but kind of write that off. Is that maybe they were all using personal transporters, and the personal transporters was able to get through the shield. So since the dilithium was there on the ship, and they did not have the technology on them, maybe that
Mm.
is what was preventing them. So like maybe it's like a multi piece thing. Like they're able to go somewhere, but they're not necessarily able to pull something out.
Yeah, they could be, I would kind of go with that one because obviously it's small enough to kind of maybe penetrate the shields. So you can like use like a large teleporter out because it uses a different kind of frequency or something. But then I also generally thought, well, they're also like, was it 200 years in the future, 100 years or something? So
930.
there you go, 930 years. So obviously they would have gone, oh, let's get rid of this, like this tech. This tech is able to beam in, so we're more advanced that way. Because they do reference it quite a lot, like, oh, this is old relics of the ship, but it looks like it's brand new at the same time. So I generally kind of thought that would be the way around it. It's just technology is advanced way too far for them, that the crew doesn't really know what's going on.
Yeah, sorry, I'm gonna head over to the chat for just 1 second.
Yeah.
Chris Wong, I see your note about my volume being kind of low. I just turned up my mic a bit. Skype is being kind of stupid though. or my computer in general. I'm not exactly sure what the issue is, but like I'm turning up the volume on my mic, and I can see the volume going back down in the opposite direction. So I have no idea what's going on here. This is literally turning out to be one of those weird technology days where just nothing wants to work the way it's supposed to. So hopefully, no, it just turned me down all the way. Like I have no idea what's going on here. Maybe it's Skype being stupid, but here we go. Okay, Skype has automatically adjusted microphone settings. Let me see.
It's like Skype's like, hey, I know you're talking normally, but it'd be a shame if I turned it all the way down for you.
So weird. I don't understand what's happening. Let me know if you can hear me normally again. I'm kind of playing with the volume here on my end. We'll see if it actually does its thing.
It's control.
Chris wants his control. Yeah, I would not be surprised. Or like I don't know, because I've got a lot of stuff's kind of new. I purchased the Elgato Wavelength microphone, which is supposed to be like an all-encompassing thing. It does like the mixing from on it. It's supposed to do everything. So maybe it's just being weird and stupid along with everything else. I don't know. At least my camera is still working again.
2 minutes later, camera goes down, mic works.
That's good. All right, so I've got that there. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if that helps. Hopefully it'll be good. Yeah. So anyway, back to the episode. I know there's only a few of you guys in the chat here, but if you've seen this episode, let us know what stood out to you. Like what was like your favorite moments from the episode? What kind of made you like maybe scratch your head a little bit and go, that's not necessarily right. Just kind of your general feelings on it. What did you think about this new like half Trill character Azura?
I generally kind of like scratched my head a bit because like I wasn't kind of really bothered about like the age because I kept thinking about Ezra Dax. So like when she's like, oh, I'm like 19 or 17 or something like that, like that didn't kind of really faze me because like apart from like, oh my god, like no one that young could be a host. I think I was okay with it. I think maybe because I'm learning to be more open about Discovery and stuff like that because it feels like that's how the show should be. So I was kind of more like, do you know what? I'm okay with this character. I feel like they're going to go down through some sort of kind of like, she's very kind of on the point, or she's, she likes everything a set way. So it's going to be hard for her to kind of adjust to the crew because obviously she's now a series regular. So I think that's kind of how she's going to be. I mean, how did you find her?
At first I was like, okay, she's kind of annoying. I didn't know, and now I'm out of focus. Okay. I think maybe I figured that part out. My mic volume is actually staying where it's at, so I think maybe this is all kind of coming together now halfway through our discussion here. She reminds me of Wesley Crusher a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas I can't say that she's annoying, because I don't really know much about her yet. But I think it was that like, I'm a kid and I'm too smart for my own good type of a vibe that I was getting off of her. But I liked how Stamets reacted to her because at first both him and Tilly were like, oh, there's something going on here. What's up with her? She's up to something. But then when he finds her in the Jeffries tube, he's just like, hey, let's have a conversation. What's going on with you? And I thought that was very, very interesting because that's not Stamets from Discovery season 1.
Yeah, I thought that because I think maybe it's like how like Simon Cowell on like X Factor, how when he did season one, he was very mean to like every single person. But then when they turned around and said, "You've got to chill out," to him, they're like, "Fine." Now he's kind of like okay. So I generally thought that was exactly the same sort of thing where they went to his character and went, "Look, we know you're this badass. We know you're this person, but you need to calm it down a bit. We need to rewrite you so you're more acceptable." And that's what I kind of liked. So I like seeing his progression from being kind of like grr to hey, let's have a conversation.
Yeah, well, I feel like that was growth from the character that we saw over the course of season two as well,
Mm,
because he, after dealing with everything that he had to deal with, after losing Hugh and then and then he got Hugh back, but then Hugh had no idea what he was doing, um, and it just kind of I think the character, like he's one of the characters I think that I've seen in the show who's had the most growth for
mm,
anyone. Um, it's like Burnham more or less is kind of the same as she was, and we kind of see her reverting back now to the I'm gonna do things my way. Sorry, I didn't ask for permission, but this is what I had to do, so I had to do it. Like when she first
yeah.
took the shuttle out with Book. Um, Hugh, we didn't see him in this episode, really, did we? Dr. Culber.
Um, no, I think you see him very kind of very briefly because he's like, oh, you've got to stay still because he's still hurt. No, that was episode
Yeah,
two.
that was the last episode.
No, yeah, I don't actually think you see him. I don't think he's part of it. So, maybe he's still in sick bay, but it was mainly focused around just some of the other characters. So yeah, I think that you don't see him at
Yeah,
all.
Saru, obviously he's had a ton of character growth because at first he had the threat ganglia, and then he kind of started getting a little aggro once he started coming into his own after going through his transformation. Now I feel like he's kind of found like a common ground, like a middle ground, almost the same as
Mm,
Stamets. I feel like they've kind of like both him and Stamets are almost not opposites of each other, but they've kind of like evened out at the same time, just kind of moved in different directions, both with him needing to be more aggressive and Stamets kind of like softening up a bit.
yeah, I think over the course of time, like because you've seen these characters grow, that they've become their own. So it's good that you've got character development at such a high level. Um, so I kind of like that because like if they just all stayed the same, I think that would have been kind of a bit more. Oh well, you can see that Tilly's got more, or Michael's got more kind of character development, and these characters have been just kind of left behind to be like the same. So kind of like the fact that they have grown.
I did like in this episode that they gave Book the swear, the like where because that that had been like Tilly up to now, and then they implement the spore drive, they jump, and he's like, oh shit, you didn't tell me about the spinning part. like
Yeah.
his excitement about that I think was really cool, and I wonder like now I'm also wondering if we're going to get a future of spore drives, because like
Mm,
now that they're so far in the future, they're the only ship that has this, but since other ships can't move at warp, I wonder if they're going to solve that problem. So I mean, the other ships can move at warp, but they're just low on dilithium, so they're not super able to really get around. But I'm curious as to where where that storyline with the dilithium is going to go.
mm. I think I think you're going to probably see something that they'll explain what happened, and I reckon that they'll go, well, we need to find like a huge vein of dilithium, and they'll be like, well, no ship can get to this part because it's on the other side of the universe. Let's say it's in the Delta Quadrant, and they'll go, well, we can get there. And I think that if they do that storyline and they get to the destination, I think then you'll see a lot more kind of story like no ships have been out here for such a long time. What the hell? And then it becomes like a huge battle, and then everyone gets kind of dilithium. Because I want to know why the burn happened. Like that's one thing that they keep talking about, and like tell me more. Um, but because they've got such a large amount of dilithium, I think that could be a thing where they could make their own, or they have a unique way of doing things. I mean, it's still very early days, but I want to see.
Yeah, well, we did find out, I think, in this episode that the burn was caused by all of the dilithium going inert. So this is where I'm a little confused with that plot line. So all the dilithium just all of a sudden went inert, but then it wasn't inert. So because since they're able to use it now, obviously it didn't stay completely inert.
Maybe it was some. Well, maybe it was something like they had like because it's out of time. Because obviously you don't see like anything about the burn in like say Voyager, and
Right.
then even when it's like set, even in Janeway's future. So maybe it's something because obviously Discovery was traveling at that time. It put it in a bubble and was like, no, you're not affected at all.
Oh no.
So
Sorry. Not just with Discovery, but with everything. Because if dilithium was completely inert and worthless, people wouldn't be trying to get it because it wouldn't do anything for them. But all these shit, all like the Raiders were trying to get dilithium so that they could power their ships. But that means that after the burn, dilithium returned to normal.
mm, maybe it's like very small traces amount that's left, but Earth's got like a whole ton of it.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. Well, but that's where I'm confused. Is if what caused the burn was that what was dilithium going inert, and then it was only a temporary thing.
Mm.
Where why was it only temporary?
Um.
I'm sure that's something that we're going to find out. We're probably going to find out that there was some sort of accident or experiment or something that caused it to happen. It's just one of those questions that this episode now raised is that now we know that the burn was caused by it wasn't just that the dilithium all exploded at one time, or it was that something brief happened, and then it kicked back. It went back to normal again. Um, but how it happened is I think obviously the mystery of the season.
Mm.
And I don't know whether the Trill that's within Adira knows more about that because obviously it's an older being. So
Mm.
I'm also really interested to know how old that Trill is. Like how long has that Trill been around? Who do they know someone that we've seen before, or is it someone that we've seen before that just changed their name?
Um, could be. Like it would be very interesting if it was Dax and they kind of like just like to hide it. So, she had to go into hiding. I think that'd be really cool if they did that, like a massive kind of throwback. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think when I saw the trail, like when I saw her, I generally thought you've got something to do with this burn. So maybe they'll throw back and go, well, we wanted to use the omega particle with dilithium because if we could combine it due to Voyager's notes and research, that we could have made a quantum slipstream for every single ship. But
Right.
then something went wrong, like I don't know, containment or a frequency. This therefore shattered and then sparked through like a major big area, which then would have caused all the Federation ships to go through the change, and then any other ship within that vicinity, when it entered that range for a certain amount of time, boom, it destroyed them as well.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that. It could be something that just traveled throughout subspace,
Mm.
and because the ships were in subspace when, or they were in the middle of the warp field when the dilithium went inert. That's what caused the explosions to happen. Because that was something else I didn't understand is if the dilithium just went inert, why would that cause an explosion instead of just causing them to fall out of warp and just stop in their tracks?
Mm. It might just be the fact that maybe in some sort of way, it well, obviously it did damage all the ships. Maybe
Yeah,
it just
it caused some sort of a cascade reaction that caused them to blow up. But
mm,
it's all these questions that are coming up now that I'm sure we're going to find out over the course of the season.
oh yeah.
It's just now that we're getting all these small little pieces of exposition, it's just making all these questions like come to the surface a little bit more. Because I don't want to be one of those guys who are like, why didn't they explain that in this episode?
Yeah,
We've got 10 more episodes of the season, so
yeah, we all know what will happen. It'll come to the end. And it'll go. So what happened to the burn? They go like, well, over like 900 years, whatever, blah blah blah. Neelix. It was Neelix. And I'll be like, I freaking knew it was you, Neelix. I hate you so much. I do hate Neelix. But like, I knew it was you.
Thomas Riker, maybe.
Oh, maybe he got out of the Bajoran. No, was it? Yeah, was it the Bajoran? No, Cardassian prison.
No, it was the Cardassian. Yeah, he was in Cardassian prison.
Yeah, maybe it was him. Him and Neelix all joined up together.
Oh God, that'd be horrible. Let's see. What other threads did we have in this episode? So we talked about Adira. We have the Raiders. When, which is just a weird name to me to use because it's like when did this? Like it just.
He's like, why are you called When? Well, that's the mystery.
Funny story.
Yeah.
I liked the backstory for them though. I liked that they were a research team that was on Titan that then got basically disassociated from Earth when the burn happened because they weren't really able to travel back and forth as much, and then they had an accident which caused them to kind of go off the rails. It reminded me a little bit of the storyline in The Expanse with like the Belchers and Earth and Mars and all that kind of stuff going on. Because in The Expanse, there's 3 different factions within the solar system that are all caused by colonization of other places. First, we colonized Mars. And Mars was like, hey, Earth, we don't want to live under your rule anymore, so we're going to do our own thing. We're on another planet, so good luck trying to come and exert your control again. And then there's what's called the Belchers, which are kind of the people that do like asteroid mining and do a lot. They're almost like a labor class, and they have their own like colony too. So like this reminded me a little bit of that, where like they were on their own, but they're like, the shit that affects you is also affecting us. We tried to ask you for help, and you just wiped us out because you were afraid that we were coming to hurt you instead of just saying, hey, what do you need?
Yeah, so I found that very, like, for that story, when it felt like Earth has now become this whole thing of we don't want anyone, like, whatsoever to come like near us. So like even when Discovery jumped in, they were very kind of like, we're going to shoot you down. We don't know who you are, but you come anywhere near us whatsoever, you're gone. But with the Raiders as well, like obviously they're going like, oh, they come in, they take stuff, they do this. You kind of think that they would have shown who they were, and they started a communication, be like, hey, we're from Titan, we want to talk to you about stuff. But it just felt like Earth was, that's it. Like as soon as this happened through the burn, everything, they were just like, right, we've got to get a shield around the planet. We've got to make sure that nothing comes in or out, and that's it. And I kind of felt like
I'm guessing that happened after Starfleet left. Because the captain of the Union was like, listen, Starfleet is gone. They haven't been here for a number of years now. We're our own thing. And I mean, that's kind of interesting to me because like the Federation was separate from Starfleet. Starfleet was just Earth's space. It was new NASA, basically. It was the sort of the civilian military wing of their space defense force. The Federation was the planets. It was basically the UN of space. So I'm not sure why Starfleet would have left instead of morphing into the Union itself.
Yeah, I think it's like it's such a weird thing of like, maybe in a way maybe it's because of the burn. Like if they were something to do with it, they were like, well, we've got to go now, because you wouldn't want to stay on Earth if like all these ships came up and said, look, you're the one who did this, we want revenge, we're going to destroy you. It's either you leave or Earth. And I reckon maybe the Defense Force was like, right, we've now formed, get out Starfleet, you've got to go now. Do your own thing, but you're never welcome back here ever again. I think that could be that's how I would kind of like put it into that
Right.
storyline. Yeah, it's just it. I feel like even though with the defense force, even you got this impenetrable shield, I still think they could have opened like communications and gone right. We can talk about this. But then also with the Raiders as well from Titan, it's more kind of like, well, why didn't they sort of do it rather than be like, well, we're going to attack straight away? So maybe I think you see it in the episode, like they look at each other, like, oh yeah, we kind of did something wrong. Sorry about that. And then now
Right.
they're slowly talking.
Yeah, it's interesting because I didn't necessarily get from the captain that she was trying to hide something. It,
Mm,
it more seemed to me that she was just that xenophobic type. We don't want to get involved in anything else that's happening in the galaxy. We just need to take care of ourselves because
mm,
this is what matters to us. Uh, Everyone else can deal with their own shit. We're gonna deal with the shit that's here on Earth, which is very un Starfleet like, but at the same time,
yeah.
kind of Starfleet like. Because like that's one of the things that I don't understand about like a lot of the Star Trek fandom in general is like people are always like, oh well, Starfleet is perfect. They do everything right. There's no racism. There's no xenophobia. There's no this. There's no that. We've seen a lot of shitty officers in Starfleet. Uh,
Oh yeah.
like there's Riker's captain from the Pegasus who
Mm,
was doing shady stuff. Section 31 in general, is just a super shady organization. The admiral from uh, uh, Insurrection that was working with the Sona, who we'd seen
mm.
previously in Next Generation before. Um, the There was that female admiral, the blonde one. I can't remember what her name was. Um, but
Was that was that the one with the Borg where
yeah, where
yeah.
she was trying to get them to use Hugh to, I think, to completely like eradicate them or whatever. And Picard was like, "No, he's a kid. We're gonna try and figure out another way," which obviously led to its
Mm,
own thing anyway, and was probably the right call. But we know that like people within Starfleet aren't the ideal people. They're people. It's just that the
mm,
ideals that Starfleet is trying to uphold is this utopian thing. I think that's the thing with Star Trek is what Star Trek does well is it shows that you can strive to be better, but you have to overcome these not necessarily these obstacles that are in your way, but that there's always going to be obstacles that you need to overcome in order to become that perfect society that we're striving to be.
mm. Yeah. Yeah, it's quite interesting because again, like as I said, like with all this corruption in it, you never kind of really notice it until it's like pointed out. Um, thinking about like the past with, wasn't there the thing with Picard and the other captains that they did something is very early on in season one where they all had to get together, but Starfleet wanted them out, so they pretty much killed everyone, bar Picard.
Oh, that
Um,
conspiracy.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, and
Because
so that to
there was
me,
also that one where Starfleet was infiltrated by those weird bug things, and the one guy got
oh
blown up.
yeah.
That was a very odd episode. But that was interesting to me too because like that was one of the first things in Star Trek: The Next Generation that was like this uh, multi-part story that did it wasn't just like a one-off episode or a cliffhanger at the end of a season. It was an actual storyline that was progressing through the series, and
Mm,
Star Trek just Next Generation at least just didn't do that. That wasn't a, a format that they used. So that was kind of interesting that they had that really early on and then kind of moved away from it.
mm,
But yeah, with this episode, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I liked seeing Tilly and the rest of the crew back on Earth and getting to go see that tree that they had all studied under. Um, and what used to be Starfleet headquarters. I hope we get to see Earth more in the series.
Mm.
Because I think that's something that we've kind of like we saw it a bit in Deep Space Nine. They went to Earth every once in a while because we kept seeing Cisco's dad's restaurant in New Orleans. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, I don't know. JD is here in the chat. He says that the Kelvin universe loves to make Starfleet people as villains. And I mean, in the movies, yeah, the J.J. Abrams and the Justin Lin movie, they definitely made a lot of the Starfleet people out to be villains. But even the original series did. Like every series, I think, maybe not so much in Voyager, just because they were so far out of the way.
Mm.
But both Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, we saw plenty of corruption in Starfleet itself.
Oh yeah, I think obviously if you have a thing like the Federation way too perfect all the time, then it's not believable because you know there's obviously going to be people that want to be corrupt and stuff, and you see it.
Yeah.
You know, like even to the last end where you had Section 31 when it was being with Julian and Miles, where Julian actually had this chance to go through all of Section 31. But then they were like, well, if he dies, you die, and that's it. But all the information was there, and it showed the corruption of like, do you stay or do you go? Do you get the mysteries that you've been searching for, or is that it? So you kind of see that little bit of corruption going there, and obviously with like a lot more in Deep Space Nine and Next Gen as well.
Yeah. So I think that's just a recurring theme that we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how much of that we're going to see in Discovery now, because now that they're so far in the future, it's obviously Starfleet is now just like this small group. I think it's going to be interesting to find out what happened and see if like Starfleet was actually involved or if it was something else, or Section 31. Maybe that's where the Section 31 show is going to come from, because this is something that I was talking about with Eric, and I think even you for our first episode, is now that George Joe is in the future, where's this Section 31 show going to be, because it was supposed to focus on her.
Mm. Yeah, I think this could be the way forward, because I've always been a very firm believer that Star Trek should always be in the future, never the past. And now you have this big thing where it's way ahead of any of the others. It's the perfect time to start setting the stones for another foundation. So if they did Section 31, I think that would be kind of cool. Like you saw the downfall of it, and now you see the rise of it, and it's continuing on. And I think that would be kind of like a brilliant thing if they reference that Deep Space Nine episode.
Oh yeah,
beautiful.
Man, I just like William Sadler as that guy was just great. I mean, he's just such a good actor. I love watching him in anything, and seeing him as like that really skeevy guy. It was just always fun to watch. So where do you think we're going to be going next week? Do you think next week is next week the episode where we actually see Trill? Because it was kind of hard to tell from the preview like where it was going, because we saw Burnham like falling into a pool, and we know that the symbiotes live in like that pool on Trill, and that's how they kind of communicate with each other and where they live, and they have the keepers. So I don't know if that's what was coming next week.
I reckon that they will. I reckon that she'll talk a little bit more what happened, saying like this is what needs to be done. Then she'll probably fall down and be like, oh my god, look, her vitals are dropping. Off to Trill we go. And then we move off to Trill. They start talking about it a little bit. And then I reckon they'll be like, well, we've kind of like worked on this prototype, like pathogen type or thing that will stabilize this. And then they'll give it to her. And then she'll be like, right, cool. Now I know that, where we've got to go for the first time. It's to the Gamma Quadrant. If that happens, boom.
I don't know that it's necessarily going to be an issue with her like that. I think if they go to I think that the reason that they go to Trill for Adira would be to help her access the memories. Like they're going to put her into the pool so that the other Trill, the symbiotes, can help her access everything that the other Trill's trying to tell her, and help her kind of not accept, but learn how to use be one with this thing that's now living inside of her. Looking at information online, I'm not seeing any like direct references for a synopsis for episode 4 yet. Let's see. This is season 1.
So,
Let's see here. We're looking at season 3, episode 4. Uh, yeah, all we know so far, it looks like, is that the title is Forget Me Not.
yeah, I'm just having a look at this one. Yeah, maybe that obviously it's Forget Me Not. That will be literally, they unlock the memories and stuff like that for her, which would be very, very simple. But then, like, maybe you get a bit more of the backstory and stuff like that.
Oh,
Which I'm
yeah, yeah,
good.
here.
Which I'm good.
Synopsis. Burnham and Adira visit the Trill homeworld while Saru's effort on the Discovery to help the crew reconnect yields surprises.
Oh, Saru just goes around with presents for everyone. Surprise!
So, I mean, that's interesting right there, because why does he need to help the crew reconnect? Like, they weren't separated. Burnham was the only one that was separated from them for a year.
I reckon it will be.
We know that. Detmer. Like, obviously, we saw in this episode when Saru ordered her to put the Discovery between. Oh, excuse me. Between Book's ship and the weapons fire from Earth. We could see her PTSD. Like, we could see that coming forward, because she was like, she was really not wanting to do it, trying to find reasons to not put them there, because even I can never remember her name, the other ops officer that sits next to her was like, listen, our shields are at full, we'll be fine. So I wonder if maybe it'll be dealing with with them dealing with the fallout from, okay, now they're 930 years in the future. At the end of this episode they saw Earth, but they still have to come to terms with the fact that they're now there.
I reckon that's the one that I think will happen. Like, you'll start seeing the crew going, like, they're not working as hard, or they don't want to. They want answers. They don't want to be in this entire like thing, and therefore that's why he's got to kind of reconnect them all. So that would be kind of like my guess on that, or the fact that they all just want to go sit under that big giant tree. Everyone served under that one.
JD wants to know if we think the burn has something to do with Burnham.
See, I saw that
from the name.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Right, this is what it is. So it gets to the part near the end of the season, and they start talking about it, and they say, like, yeah, they don't understand what happened. Like, everything was going fine until, like, this point where Burnham, this sort of shockwave happened, and it was Burnham going through time.
I was thinking about that. That's not unlikely. Because, like, maybe... So she sent the Red Angel suit up back through the time vortex to explode. So maybe that explosion and the time vortex from the suit with the time crystal in it, maybe that did something.
Yeah. And I reckon if they did that, that would be the cliffhanger for season 3. And then season 4 is they've got to try and fix it.
Huh. That's a good theory.
If it is, boom. Like,
I don't
here first.
I'm going to say I'm on board with half of that. I could totally see them going in the direction that somehow it was their fault for going into the future. I don't know that they would try to fix it though. I think it might be a thing where they're like, okay, well, this happened, now we're stuck with it.
I think what would be. Know. Can you imagine if it'd be really funny if, like, they tried to fix it and then suddenly it fades out and it's just the Enterprise next gen, and it's like Picard going like, yes, it's we detected something on sensors, and it just shows like this little on the view screen, and we don't know what happened.
Yeah, with now that we have Picard series, we have Discovery, the live action series, we've got Strange New Worlds. I don't know how they would do it, but seeing some sort of a crossover event with all 3 or 4 of these shows, I think would be very cool.
Yep.
Making it work would be bizarre because they're now all incomplete. I mean, Section 31 is probably going to be in one of these time frames that we've already seen, but the three main shows right now they're all in completely different times. Because Strange New Worlds is going to be that same 5 or 6 years before Next Generation, or not Next Gen, 5 or 6 years before the original series. Picard is 20 years after Next Generation, and now Discovery is 900 years after that, or 800 years after that.
Oh no, this is one thing that annoys me. It really does. It's when it's like, so how do we capitalize on the Star Trek Kirk era, but a bit before it?
Yeah,
perfect. I'm like, no.
I mean that's how I felt about Discovery, but I grew to really enjoy it. But that was also kind of how I felt about Enterprise, and now watching Enterprise again, I'm like, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought it was, or remembered it being. Because I remember watching it after it had been canceled. I was watching it, and for me it was just kind of I was like, all right, well it's Star Trek, so I'm gonna watch it. But the show itself, I was just like, meh. But now watching it back again, I'm like, oh, I don't think I gave it a fair shake when I watched it the first time, and now I'm actually really enjoying it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like same type of thing. Like a lot of people feel that way about Deep Space Nine. There are a lot of people that didn't really give Deep Space Nine a fair shake when it was first on, and now Deep Space Nine is like that underdog show that everyone's like, oh no, this show is actually really good. So
yeah, I'll give it that one because I never liked it as a kid, but I absolutely kind of like it now. But only when it gets near the Dominion War, because that I think is the most interesting thing.
Well, I think it's kind of like with TNG. Like the first 2 or 3 seasons of TNG were kind of rocky. The first 2 or 3 seasons of Deep Space Nine were kind of rocky until they really found like their footing, and they were like, no, we're gonna do, like when they finally decided, okay, no, we're not gonna do this episodic thing. We're actually going to do more of a serialized show. That's when they started to get. It was like when Cisco shaved his head.
Yeah.
Like from that season on, I was like, or like when they got the Defiant, I was like, okay, this is a good show. Because I think some of my favorite Star Trek episodes were Deep Space Nine. Like I know I talk about this one a lot, but Beyond the Stars from I think that was season 6 or season 7. Like it's just a good standalone episode of Star Trek that you don't necessarily need to know what's going on in the rest of the series to understand that one episode. Because that's the one where Cisco is having the dream that he's a sci-fi writer in the 1950s.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that one now.
It's just a good story. And I feel like that's really what Star Trek needs to be. But yeah, I think that really took us through this episode. I think we hit all the major points here. So what would you rate this episode?
Or are we doing the com badges?
Yeah, let me see if I can get my thing back up here and going. Let's see.
It's out of 5, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 4 com badges and a warp core.
Okay, let's see if I'm doing this right. Let's see, there's 4. Like all my shit's breaking today, so it's probably not gonna work. Come on, 4. Yeah. Oh, I know what's going on. All right, let me try this again. Fucking technology.
It's control.
Let's see here. Come on, show yourself.
Damn it, Neelix. Oh, God, I hate Neelix. I really do.
Why do you hate Neelix so much?
He's a very useless character pretty much most of the time. They gave him a title, which was ambassador of, the thing. But I think the one thing that makes me think that he's such a stupid character, or he went in a very bad way, was in the last few episodes of Voyager, where it's like fair enough, like for the entire like whole seasons, he's like, I want to go to Earth, I want to do this, and then all of a sudden, yeah, he meets his own kind. That's fine, and then it's literally like one episode before the end, and I'm like, you didn't need to put that storyline in. Like, if you didn't want to use him in the like that last episode, just have him in the mess hall, like flailing about, going like, "Oh no, I've been hit." It just, I
Yeah.
also just,
I mean,
hate him.
I hated the Tuvix episode,
Yeah,
but
like,
I like Voyagers it's on my list. Like after I'm done with Discovery, I'll go back. I'll rewatch Voyager again because I remember liking certain things about it, and then really not liking other things. But it's definitely one of my least favorite series. All right,
Void,
these are working. All right, so you gave it a
like,
4. I'm
4.
going. I'm gonna give it. No, I'm the same. I'm gonna give it a 4 too. I think it did. They did a good job with raising a lot more questions. They didn't necessarily answer a lot yet, but they gave us a lot more story to dig into, and I think this episode it did a good job of setting up kind of what we're in store for the rest of the season, because the first 2 episodes, while I enjoyed them, they were all just, hey, let's get the gang back together type thing. It was they didn't really do much of anything outside of exposition for what is this world that we're living in now. This one was really a setup. Okay, well now we've got Adira. We know that she knows something about what's going on with Starfleet, so we've got to figure that out. And then I think I think this next episode, this 4th episode, is really going to like really put us in the middle of, okay, what is actually happening this season.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to episode 4, and I think this episode did a good job of setting that up. But at the same time, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of Earth. I think because like Eric and I, like, we both have the same questions. What does Illinois look like now?
Yeah,
That was the one thing with Daniels from Enterprise, where he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm from Illinois. It's just like nothing like the Illinois that you guys know." And I'm like, okay, well now that we're in like so far in the future, I need to know what it looks like.
So I want to know what passage. No, is it? Where was Pal Morphicon held last time?
Anaheim.
I know. I want to know what happens to the Anaheim Convention Center, because that was in Picard. I want to know what.
Yeah.
I want to see it.
Yeah,
I stood in that line outside the shop.
I thought that was interesting. As soon as I saw that in the trailer for Picard, I was like, Starfleet headquarters is the Anaheim Convention Center. That's interesting.
Yeah.
But then like that happens to me with a lot of stuff. Like in Demolition Man, the San Diego Convention Center was the police headquarters. Was there, and then the apartments that Sandra Bullock and the Demolition Man Stallone lived in, that was the Pacific Design Building. So like all these places I see, and like it doesn't take me out of it. It's just one of those things where I'm like, oh, I know that place.
Yeah. It's like the was it Rush Hour, the first one, where Jackie Chan and it's Jackie Chan. He's up in the E3 building, and you're going, Jackie Chan was up there, and that's it. You're like, yes.
Yeah, that's the Los Angeles Convention Center. Yeah. I guess that will do it for us for this week, for episode 3 of Star Trek Discovery, People of Earth. We will be back next week, probably again on Friday. Hopefully, my schedule seems to have kind of evened out a little bit now with episode 4. And if you're free, you'll be back with us. If Eric's free, he'll be back with us. Bryce may be caught up by then. We'll see. I know Joe started watching, but I don't think he's going to get through it before next week. See, he's only seen the first episode of Discovery so far.
Yeah. See, I can imagine Bryce coming in and going, guys, I've watched all of Voyager and I love Neelix. I'm like, Bryce, get out! Just get out!
He would. Like, Bryce seems like the kind of guy that would like Neelix. He probably, like, his favorite episode is going to be the Tuvix episode.
Oh, no. Oh boy.
Or Kes. Kes might be his favorite character, too. I don't know.
Oh, one of the most useless Star Trek characters ever, and she gets like 3 seasons dedicated to her.
Yeah. And then that
Ah,
one special episode when she came back.
yeah,
I don't.
that could be an entire stream. Let's just talk about Kess, the fusion of Neelix and
Well,
Tuvok,
and
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 just Neelix.
wasn't Gary Graham was one of them too, wasn't he?
I don't know. What?
Yeah, Gary Graham is one of the Vulcans in Enterprise, and I want to say he was also one of her race that learned how to use the psychic powers and was teaching her how to do that.
Maybe I
Maybe
thought it was.
it might have been someone else. I think it was him, but I don't remember.
Uh,
Anyway, what have you got to plug for us? Well, I know I got a notification that you had posted a video not too long ago. What do you got coming up this week?
I have the video coming up of the Power Ranger fandom, how we need to wait, and how they have been. Some of them have been a bit dickish.
Interesting.
So it's obviously we had the Hasbro Fan First Friday on Friday.
Yeah,
and
I didn't get to watch any of it because I was neck deep in fire stuff. But I did see that we ended up being 100% correct with our casting predictions, or not even
Yes,
predictions, that we were spot on with all those, but that the Green Ranger ended up getting recast at the last minute for some reason.
Yeah, so it went. Yeah, so I was gonna say, and then went back to her, but no, yeah, she got recast. It was made official, but it was more about the comments that were happening in the chat, where it's just like, obviously you've got to build it up, and it's just like, give us Dino Fury already. Like, we want a new trailer. We don't care about this. And I was like, yeah, but there are some people who do, and then there's some people like, going like crazy on it, and I was just like, we can't have it yesterday, guys. We can't have it yesterday. Or do you want the next season now? Should we just move on to that one? Get rid of Dino Fury. Let's move on to the next series. So it's talking kind of about that, and then probably some fun.
I do have. I don't really have anything to plug other than the Star Trek show that's coming, or not the Star Trek show. We're doing the Star Trek show now. The wrestling show tomorrow night at 8:00. The Illuminerdi Wrestling Order. I'm not sure exactly what they will be talking about, but I'm sure it will be interesting if you're into wrestling stuff. I also have something exciting within the Power Rangers universe that I am working on. It has to do with the new stuff that was announced, not Dino Fury, but the other Power Ranger things. I've been in contact with someone, and I think once that all comes together, they'll be very exciting. I'll talk to you about it off the air. I just don't
yay!
I don't want to put it out there yet. I don't know how many people watching the Star Trek show are really into Power Rangers either. So, we'll see. I know we got some of that crossover audience. But yeah, that will do it for us for this week on the Riker Maneuver. There's no retro episode this week, but we should be back maybe next week with that and episode 4 of Discovery. So live long and prosper. I know Eric can't do it either.
Really?
That sucks. Where's the button? Where's my button? Is that it?